You're appropriately embarrassed. It's a story of a Samaritan woman, and just let me read the story, and you can hear what Jesus says to her and how he deals with her. And I want you to keep a couple things in mind. One is your place in the story, and another one is as you minister and as you offer yourself to others and as you are here in this community, what does it mean in our community? So just have those things in the back of your head. Now, when Jesus learned that the Pharisees had heard that Jesus was making and baptizing more disciples than John, although Jesus himself did not baptize, but only his disciples, he left Judea and departed again for Galilee, and he had to pass through Samaria. So he came to a town of Samaria called Sychar, near the field that Jacob had given to his son Joseph. Jacob's well was there. So Jesus, wearied as he was from his journey, was sitting beside the well. It was about the 6th hour. A woman from Samaria came to draw water. Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." For his disciples had gone away into the city to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "How is it that you, a Jew, ask for a drink from me, a woman of Samaria?" For Jews had no dealings with Samaritans. Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that is saying to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." The woman said to him, "Sir, you have nothing to draw water with, and the well is deep. Where do you get that living water? Are you greater than our father Jacob? He gave us the well and drank from it himself, as did his sons and his livestock." Jesus said to her, "Everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks of the water that I will give him will never be thirsty again. The water that I will give him will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I will not be thirsty or have to come here to draw water." Jesus said to her, "Go call your husband and come here." The woman answered him, "I have no husband." Jesus said to her, "You are right in saying, 'I have no husband,' for you have had 5 husbands, and the one who you now have is not your husband. What you have said is true." The woman said to him, "Sir, I perceive that you are a prophet. Our fathers worshipped on this mountain, but you say that in Jerusalem is the place where people ought to worship." Jesus said to her, "Woman, believe me, the hour is coming when neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem will you worship the Father. You worship what you do not know. We worship what we know, for salvation is from the Jews. But the hour is coming, and is now here, when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and truth. For the Father is seeking such people to worship him. God is spirit, and those who worship him must worship in spirit and truth." The woman said to him, "I know that Messiah is coming, he who is called Christ. When he comes, he will tell us all things." Jesus said to her, "I who speak to you am he." Jesus experiences the jealousy of the Pharisees. They're upset with him. He's baptizing a lot of people. He's getting a lot of attention. He's even gotten more attention than John the Baptist, and John the Baptist had been disposed of, had been killed, and probably with the help of the Pharisees. And now Jesus is kind of in that popular mode. So he leaves and he's heading from Judea to Galilee, and it's probably about a 70-mile journey. It's probably going to take him 2.5, 3 days to get there. and he has to pass through Samaria. When we read that, we just take it at its face value, but the truth is he didn't have to pass through Samaria. Samaria was directly between the two places, but nobody ever would go, no self-respecting Jewish rabbi would ever go through Samaria. Samaria was kind of the armpit of the world, their world. It was kind of the ugly place. Matter of fact, the town name, Sychar, they're not sure. It either means drunk town or liar town. You know, that's kind of like, wow. It's kind of like being, you know, like, that's just sick. That's just a crazy name. Sychar. And that's where he's near. And so he had to pass through. Technically, he would normally go around. It would add a little bit of time for his journey, but he wouldn't have to mess with these Samaritans. Samaritans were hated. They were hated because they were Jews who had intermarried with Babylonians. The Babylonian Empire had come and had quashed the Jews and made them servants and slaves, and they hated. There was just hatred between those two races, and this two groups of people, and now he walks through and he's intentionally interacting with people who are hated. It's interesting because the woman comes to draw water. She comes to draw water at a time when you would not normally come to draw water, and the reason is because of who she is. She doesn't have a great reputation. The women would come together to draw water. It was kind of a community event, but she's not coming with the community. She's coming by herself. She comes to draw water, and she's alone there with Jesus. And Jesus, being the rabbi, being Jewish man, is not allowed to be with a woman alone. That's just not done. His reputation will be sullied. No one would follow a rabbi like that. She comes to draw water, and she's surprised that he would talk to her. He shouldn't. And he asks for a drink of water, and she starts giving him a bit of a hard time, and they start talking about thirst. And then in verse 10, we hear Jesus' response when she says, "How is it that you, a Jew, ask for a drink from me, a woman of Samaria?" He says, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that is saying to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." Jesus takes a very common conversation and suddenly turns it deep. If you knew. If you knew who you were talking to, you would ask for what you long for. If you knew who you were talking to, it would be in a completely different conversation. If you knew Jesus, if you knew the Messiah, if you knew God. And then Jesus says, "I would give you living water." Now this is a little bit of a strange word thing because it's kind of the fascinating part of well water, a cistern, flying papers, kind of a cistern, and it's stagnant water in a very real way. Whereas it's not a spring water, it's not flowing water, it's not moving water, it's not fresh water. It's been good enough, the woman says. This is water good enough for Jacob and for Joseph, for our predecessors. Are you greater than them? Are you going to offer spring water? Are you going to offer something better, a better kind of water? We've been using this water for years. This quenches our thirst. This is okay for us. there's this discussion about water. And then to get water from the well, you have to have something to draw with. You have to have something to lower into the well, and you have to pull the water out. And it's not like you can just dip into a stream or lap it up with your, like put some in your hands and drink that way out of a freshwater stream or out of a fountain. It's not that kind of water. It's a deep well, and it takes time. You have nothing to draw water with, and this well is deep. And then she says, where do you get this living water? Jesus says, everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again. Whoever drinks of the water that I will give him will never be thirsty again. The water that I give him will become in him a spring of water welling up to eternal life. Jesus isn't talking about this water. He's not talking about this well water. He's not talking about his thirst being quenched. He's not talking about that at all. He's talking about the deeper quenching of thirst, the deep thirsts that we have. And he wants to speak to her, and she says, give me this water. This sounds awesome. She's still playing along with the concept of maybe there's a spring around here. Maybe Jesus knows something that they haven't known for years. She's kind of making fun of him because really, you'd think if there's a spring around here, we'd have found it. Sir, give me this water so that I will not be thirsty or have to come here to drink water, to draw water. She hates coming there. She doesn't come there with all the other women. She's a social outcast. It doesn't work for her. It's not a good place for her to be. It's not comfortable for her. Now she's having an uncomfortable conversation with a Jewish man. There's just nothing about this situation that feels right. Give me this water, she says. Jesus doesn't answer her question. He doesn't say, yeah, I am actually greater than Jacob. I'm greater than Joseph. I'm greater than the forefathers. I'm greater than those who came before. He doesn't say that. He says, go get your husband. Go get your husband and come here. Oops. Wow. You can imagine this woman thinking quickly, because that's what you do when you're confronted, right, with a reality. Let's see, how can I answer this question? And she says, I have no husband. Now, she uses a word that can be translated or that could be said either as husband or man. So she's saying, I don't really have a man. I don't really have a husband. She's leaving it vague. She's keeping it kind of ethereal. She's keeping Jesus guessing. She's pretty sure he doesn't know the truth. So she answers in that kind of off-putting way. And she says, Jesus says to her, you're right in saying, I have no husband, for you've had 5 husbands. And the man that you're living with now is not your husband. What you've said is true. It's that, oh man. It's that, It's that sick moment when you're confronted with your sin. It's that crazy, horrible moment when you realize, oh man, they know. See, sin is always held in the dark, our dark places. We always keep it down in the dark. We don't do things publicly. We start to do it more and more, the more inured we get to the reality of our of our sin, the more we have to face who we are. But all of a sudden, she's going, wow. And matter of fact, her wow is, wow, I perceive that you're a prophet. And she's going, oh, I get it. You're one of those prophet guys. You're one of those people who can see weird things. I get it. You're that guy. Oh, okay. And now she feels unsafe and she's scared and she doesn't know what to do, and she does what we all do. She says, how about those Wildcats? Arizona Wildcats, aren't they great? You know, have you noticed how great they are? You know what? Man, I just love the Wildcats. Wildcat basketball is so great. We got Tollefson, that big guy coming from, that's, 6'9" or 6'10", whatever it is, forward. He can play strong forward, he can play weak forward. It's going to be great, right? She changes the subject. She says, oh, hey, you know what? Our fathers, they worshipped at this temple over here, and you worship in Jerusalem, and let's change the subject. When you're ministering to people and when you're ministering with people, one of the quick giveaways when a conversation gets uncomfortable is, hey, how about those Wildcats? Right? I do that all the time when people get uncomfortably close to the truth about where I am and what I'm doing and who I am and where and the deep places that I don't want to talk about. Misdirection. Oh yeah, hey, look over here. Squirrel. Hey, look. Right? She's not even ADD. She's just nervous, right? Nervous that more of the truth will come out, that more of the pain will be realized, that more of the struggle of who she is and who she longs to be and who she desires to be will be revealed. Our fathers worshipped on this mountain. But you say that Jerusalem's the only place where people ought to worship. A little controversy here. Let's get into an argument, right? Because an argument will distract from this really uncomfortable place. Aren't you the ones, you Jewish people, man, you know that it's got to be Jerusalem, but our fathers worshipped on this mountain. We know God. We're okay. We're kind of like you. We're just a little different. Jesus says the hour is coming when you're not going to worship here, you're not going to worship on the mountain, you're not going to worship in Jerusalem. He said, however, let's get it right. You worship what you do not know. You don't know God. You do not know the Messiah. You do not know who you're talking to. He's already acknowledged that. He already has said, you don't know who you're talking to. He said the Jews worship what we know, for salvation is from the Jews. It's through the Jews, through the Jewish race. That's how salvation has come to us. But he said the hour is coming and is now here. It's now. Jesus is present when the true worshipers will worship the Father in spirit and in truth. The Father isn't flesh and blood. Jesus is flesh and blood, and he's introducing her to something greater. God is Father. God is Spirit. And she lets him know that the Father is searching for people to worship him. Searching for her. Searching for her husbands. Searching for all who will worship in spirit and in truth. She says, well, I know that Messiah is coming. I know that. I know the one who's coming is called the Christ. And she's still trying to get out. She says, well, when he comes, he's going to tell us everything. Then we'll know. And Jesus says, I who speak to you am he. Jesus says, I'm the Messiah. Jesus says, I am the Christ. Jesus says, I'm the one. I'm the one who's come. I'm it. You don't have to look. You don't have to go somewhere else. You don't have to keep searching. Her sin's a mess. She doesn't like coming face to face with Jesus. It's an uncomfortable place. So where are you in your sin? Where are you in your relationship? Are you in a place of longing and desire? Psalm 63 says, "O God, you are my God. Earnestly I seek you. My soul thirsts for you. My flesh faints for you. And in a dry, weary land where there is no water. So I have looked upon you in the sanctuary, beholding your power and glory, because your steadfast love is better than life. My lips will praise you, so I will bless you as long as I live. In your name I will lift up my hands. My soul will be satisfied as with fat and rich food, and my mouth will praise you with joyful lips when I remember you upon my bed and meditate on you in the watches of the night. For you have been my help, and in the shadow of your wings I will sing for joy. My soul clings to you. Your right hand upholds me." Is that you? Are you living into your longings? Are you accepting the realities of sin in this world, the brokenness in this world? Are you the one who says, "I cry out to you. You're all I have. You're it. I got nothing else." And so everything is about you. And when I'm concentrated on you, and when I'm fulfilled by you, and when my desires are met in you, and when my longings are you and you alone, then my life is full. And I sing for joy, and I worship and praise you. Or are you like the people Jeremiah 2 verse 13 speaks about? "For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living water, and hewed out cisterns for themselves, broken cisterns that can hold no water." Is that where you're at? This woman at the well, this woman had come, and she is desperate to be loved and cared for and thought about and respected and honored. And she ain't getting it. She's had 5 husbands. And she's living with some other guy. She's not going to get it. Is that what you're doing? Are you looking for satisfaction somewhere else? I have to confess, I have longed to be respected for my education for a long, long time. But I was a horrible student. I barely made it through high school. It took me 8 years to get through college. I wanted to go to seminary, and I wanted to become a pastor when I was 18, and my mother said, wrote a letter to my sister and said, "Nah, he better not. He's a really lousy student." So I insist that people respect me and honor me. I read every book I could lay my hands on, not so that I could just honor God and give back to Him the beauty of a mind that He had created. And no, I wanted respect. I wanted to be honored. I would pretend I didn't, When I became the chief financial officer of the big auto parts company, I said I didn't need a sign on my door. I don't need that. But boy, I sure liked it when they put it up there. Respect, honor, position, status. I get to go to a synod of the Christian Reformed Church and hang out with pastors, people with doctorate, people with master's degrees. And I have a business degree from Grand Canyon College that took me 8 years. I'm stupid. I'm dumb. I'm an idiot. I don't have what it takes. I don't measure up. But I'm going to look good. I'm going to be good. I'm going to make people appreciate me. And if I do all that, it's because God isn't enough. It's because Jesus isn't enough. Because my longings are not met in Him. My longings are met by the approval of men. My longings are met by the approval of others. My longings are met somewhere else other than the one place where they can be fully met in Jesus Christ. Are you like me? Is your thing a different thing? What do you have to have for God to be good? You have to have a spouse? Then I'll be okay? Then I'll have it all together? Then everything will be all right? You have to have a kid? That'll be enough? Then I'll finally have it all, everything I want? If I could just have a mother on Mother's Day who I could respect and honor, who didn't abandon me, leave me alone. If I just had that, then I would be okay. If I just had a wife who loved me and thought about me, then I'd have my act together, everything would be okay. I'd get what I need, what I really need. Do you know how badly I need that? Do you know how badly I need what I don't have? If I could just have that, then everything would be okay. If I just wasn't this 6'8", 320-pound guy, and if I was just normal height and fit on an airplane and didn't have people stare at me like I'm some freak every time I walk on an airplane, then I would be okay. Then it would be all right. If I just had a big retirement plan, and if I just had a whole bunch of money and I didn't have to worry about my bills all the time, and I didn't have to worry about whether I was going to get paid or the job that I have, if I just had the right kind of job, if I just had a job where they appreciated the talents and the abilities and the skills that I have, then I would be okay. What's your thing? Have I hit on any of them? You got something different? If you just had that, then it'd be okay. Whatever that is, that's taken Jesus' place. Whatever that is, all that means is Jesus isn't enough. Whatever that is, it means that you don't really trust and know and follow after Jesus with your whole heart. You go, well, Rod, and we're all pretty messed up. Yep. Yes, we are. We're all pretty messed up. When we take that longing, a legitimate longing, you know what? My longing to be respected and honored it's not a sin. It's not a sickness. My longing to be average height, that's not a sickness. That's not a sin. That's not an evil thing. That's a legitimate desire. It's okay. It's when I say I have to have that. And if I don't have that, then my life is not fulfilled. Then I don't have what I want. And then I go looking for something to give me that feeling, to replace that brokenness, to make me feel better about myself. If I don't feel loved, I go get 5 husbands and then none of them work out. And if I just get this other guy, maybe he'll love me and then I'll be okay. Then I'll be okay. And then it never quite works out. Any of you ever had that, where you actually get what you want? You get married and you decide, wow, I was holding out for this. I was demanding that. If I didn't get this, then if I just got this, Jesus was going to be great in my life, and now I got what I wanted, and it's not at all what I want. I'm actually lonelier now than I was when I was single. You finally get that big clap, the big applause, I told before, I got to read a poem that I wrote at Synod, and I made everybody laugh, and they all laughed, and then they gave me a standing ovation, and I can remember just standing there basking in a standing ovation. It's so cool. I got a standing ovation. Whoever gets a standing ovation, 400, 500 people rise to their feet, give me a standing ovation. It's so cool. And then I think the next thought, wonder how I could get this again. By the way, I have to write another poem for this one in June, right? Because they liked it. If I find what I think I want, the clap, the applause, all that good stuff, there's nothing wrong with those things. But when those longings are fulfilled somewhere other than in Christ, then you don't know Jesus. You don't believe in him. You don't trust him yet. Jesus offers you living water. And you're going to say to me, but Rod, it doesn't come in my time frame. I get it. I want it all now. Please don't make the mistakes that I've made over these past 62 years of running after all kinds of things that do not bring you the pleasure that running after Jesus gives you. Make him your life. Pursue him with a whole heart. Turn to him. Turn away from whatever other longing you have. I recognize how sad and horrible it is. I particularly recognize it on Mother's Day, when some of you long to be, and some of you wish you weren't, and some of you have children that have run far away, and some of you have mothers who you don't even know where they're at, or they've abused you or mistreated you. I know it's just a stupid, complicated, dumb Hallmark day, and it's not even a Hallmark thing, because it's a dry cistern that we go to when we go anywhere but bring our longing to Jesus. And let Jesus speak to it. And let him fill our hearts. And let him speak his love and compassion to us. It's hard, right? What Jesus said sounds almost brutal. You don't even have a husband. He speaks the truth. You should know the rest of the story. Later on, Philip goes down into Samaria. This is after Jesus dies. Philip goes down into Samaria as an evangelist, and when he's there, he finds this town where they respond to the gospel, and they're overjoyed to hear it, and where demons are cast out and healing happens. Do you think it may be because of this one encounter that Jesus had with this Samaritan woman who went back to her town and told everybody she knew? This man told me everything there is to tell about myself. Jesus knows you intimately. He cares about you. I don't know where you're turning to for your longings, to have your longings met. If it's anywhere than Jesus, I'm sorry, it's not going to work. It's really sad. Except it's really good. Because when you know him, when you have nowhere else to turn but to him, he comes with open arms and takes you in, and he will walk through all the shame, all the pain, all the hurt, all the frustration, all the anger, all the rage. He will walk with you. He'll be there. I learned that. I'm learning that, and will continue to learn that. Revelation 7:17 says, "For the Lamb in the center of the throne will be their shepherd, our shepherd, and will guide them to springs of the water of life, and God will wipe every tear from their eyes." That day comes, people, when all of it's going to get wiped away, when all the longings are met in him fully, completely, totally. He showed me a river of the water of life, a river of a water of life, clear as crystal, coming from the throne of God and of the Lamb. Jesus' sacrifice, Jesus' laying down of his life, Jesus' offering, the Messiah's offering is so that our sin can be dealt with. Our sin, the sin of this woman, looking everywhere but to the Messiah, to God, for help. There's living water that will feed you for a lifetime. And there's water that will quench your thirst for a moment. And there's dry cisterns that you turn to when you're drinking sand instead of water, living water. To find the living water, you're going to have to bow your knee before God. You're going to have to recognize Jesus. In this community, we have the opportunity to do that for each other. Let me show you Jesus. Let me show you Jesus. A lot of times I want to help people fix their problems. I like to solve problems. I like to be that guy who fixes people's problems for them. You know what? I can't. Except in this way. Look at Jesus. See Jesus. Go to Jesus. But you don't know my circumstances, Rod. You don't know how bad it is. You don't know how. I know. Go to Jesus. Turn to Jesus. When we do that with each other, here, did you see Jesus? What do you think Jesus is saying? What's Jesus? Where is Jesus in this conversation? Where was Jesus when that happened? How is Jesus here? That's what we can offer each other. We can only offer each other Jesus. Healing happens when you know Jesus. Jesse came in and went down into death and came up into life. Jesse came in and he pledged to live for Jesus. It's awesome. We got to help him. There are going to be days when he goes, it's not working. I didn't get what I wanted. It hasn't happened the way I thought it was going to happen. All my needs haven't been met. All my longings are still out there. And we're going to have to say, yeah, oh, Jesse, remember when you went down into death and up into life? Jesse, could you look at Jesus? Can I show you Jesus? Can I be Jesus' arms and Jesus' hands and Jesus' feet, Jesus' mouth? Can I be like him for you? Can I show you him? Healing is found in Jesus. True healing. So I don't know where you are. I don't know where you're turning to water that's not bringing you what you want. So I got these cups. We have this water. It's water from the hose. If you drink it, you'll be thirsty again. Jesse's been in there with stinky feet, so you may not want to drink it. Yeah. But if there's something that you've put and you said, if I only had this, then my life would be complete. Whatever that thing is, if you want to come up and you want to confess it and acknowledge it, and then you want to take one of these cups and you want to dip out some of the water, and you want to go walk outside and you just want to go throw it. Matter of fact, don't throw it on a plant. Don't let it do some good. Go throw it on the pavement. Go throw it on some concrete. Go throw it on the hard ground, the gravel, on the street, unless you're a kid. Let it trickle away. Get rid of the water. Get rid of the water that makes you thirsty again. And when you do that, say, Jesus, you're all I have. I want to know you. Teach me your ways. If you know Jesus, if you're broken and you're hurting and you're messed up and you just don't know where to turn, come do that. But come take this bread. Dip it in the juice or the wine. And remember that his body was broken and his blood was shed for your brokenness, for your hurt, for your pain, for your suffering. All of that, for your sin. He took it on himself so that you could live and drink living water. He did that for you. So come and take it in, and as you do, remember his body was broken and his blood was shed for you. And if you have an offering that you've brought that you'd like to give, please be generous. If you're a guest, somebody who's here for the first time, feel free to just let it go by. And finally, there's a former sinner's chair. It's a healing chair back there, and the reality is, if you're dealing with sin, a longing that you've turned everywhere else but to Jesus to fill, and you just need to talk to somebody about it. You just need to say something and be prayed for. Go sit there, and in a sentence or two, tell the person who comes, and let them pray and point you to Jesus. Let's worship.